What's going on, everybody? If you are looking for some new information for Super Mario Bros. Wonder, well, I have some for you. This comes from a new ESRB rating summary online that kind of gives you the kind of general synopsis as to what this game is about, but also giving us some new information that Nintendo didn't explicitly tell us. So yes, I guess you could say there are some extremely, and I mean extremely slight spoilers here, but some things that do lead into some interesting details. So before we get started, if you're really excited about Mario Wonder, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. You guys have been showing so much support recently, and I cannot thank you enough. We are on the road to 250,000 subscribers, and we are so close. So it'll only take a couple of seconds. Thank you guys so much, but let's jump into what this rating summary actually has to say. So it states, this is a platformer game in which players control characters from the Mario universe as they try to stop the villain Bowser. So straight out the gate, Bowser is obviously going to be the main villain again, which is either a good thing or a bad thing for a lot of people. I feel like most people want to see an original boss, something original for the 2D or even 3D Mario games, as I think every single mainline Mario game has, Bowser as the final boss before you get into like the spin-offs and RPGs. But yeah, take that with what you will. Maybe he's corrupted by somebody this time around. I don't know. But it looks like Bowser might be the main villain again. But it continues to say, the players traverse whimsical environments while jumping on enemies' heads, throwing shells / objects at them, or tossing small fireballs to knock them off screen. But this is the part that really caught my attention. It states, boss battles contain more involved combat against giant enemies and breathe fire and smash parts of the scenery. Now, the fact that that's even included in the overall game summary is strange, because why would they even mention boss battles in this 2D Mario game? I feel like they'd more talk about the worlds and the gameplay and the music and the characters, not really the boss battles. I feel like that's something that Nintendo never really advertises within even 2D and 3D Mario games. They're more about the mechanics, throwing Cappy in the 3D game, using Flood and, Mario's Sunshine, the new items that Mario gets in the new Super Mario Bros. Series. So, like, for them to, explicitly talk about the boss battles makes me wonder if there's going to be more of an emphasis on boss battles within this game than normal. Of course, we're not going to see more information about this game probably until the September Direct next month, but we can kind of dissect some of these words and maybe make some predictions based off of what it even says. So first off, it says we will see boss battles contain more involved combat. Now, that's something right there that's interesting, because we don't really have involved combat in any Mario boss from the 2D Mario games. I mean, simply, it's just jump on their heads, wait for them to do their attack back and forth, like in their shell or whatever, and then they pop out, jump on their head again, and you do that like that 3 times and they're done. So like, that's not really involved combat. Same with Boom Boom, Pom Pom, Kamek, Bowser Jr., and even Bowser for the most part is very simple. At least the classic versions where you jump over him in order to drop the drawbridge. So what do they mean by involved combat now? Are we gonna have to do like different puzzles